So this Raw had some flaws, but it had a tiny bit of an upside, but it still had some flaws. We got more of an in-depth look on the ruling that went in, of the Money in the Bank ladder match, or the corporate ladder Money in the Bank match for the Raw and SmackDown side, and they're also going to have the women's division come in at the same time. So we have Otis, Daniel Bryan, Baron Corbin on Raw. We now have AJ Styles, Aleister Black, and oh my God, Rey Mysterio. We also had an MVP lounge involving, of course, the women's division from last time from no contest triple threat match involving Nia Jax, Asuka, and Shayna Baszler coming around calling herself the dominant force. But went into Asuka, obviously rating. The most I can understand is easy peasy, kitey. Uh, it is cringe. It's either don't let her speak, or just say you talk too much and just let her kick people's ass. At least let her use minimal sentences other than her just randomly spewing out Japanese. Even fucking Chijiri didn't do that, and he wasn't the best on English his first time in the WWF, and he still had a successful career. I like Asuka, just not whenever she speaks. It's just an overall weeb experience. I love Asuka. I don't mind Shayna, but I feel like she's getting underrailed since her WrestleMania match. Like, she lost via roll up. So you expect such an escapism tactic like that would obviously build her up to get a rematch come Money in the Bank, and they didn't do that. So I thought they were going to leave Sarah Logan to have a DQ finish, and then Shayna will try to chase a rematch or something against Becky. And we thought that would be basic build up for a rematch come the pay-per-view, because other than that, the only thing that's been announced is the Universal Championship match with Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. We know that the corporate ladder match is going to take up a majority of the time, so they have to chunk up at least 4 or 5 matches next to that Money in the Bank ladder match. We have Drew McIntyre against Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship. The Intercontinental Championship won't be defended. We don't know who Andrade is going to face off against. Bayley facing off against Tamina for the SmackDown Women's title. Becky Lynch is nowhere to be seen. She hasn't been seen in several weeks. What the hell happened? I don't know. She came around showing this long-winded promo that she's obsessed with the WWE title, and yet she hasn't been seen on TV as well as Sami Zayn. Randy Orton neither. And then we're with this regurgitated gimmick of only doing gauntlet matches. And sometimes they're for the more important parts of the show, but I feel like they're so long-winded because we had as much gauntlet matches than we did like handicap matches, lumberjack matches. There's a rarity that we see those anymore. Over the top rope matches, we haven't gotten a beat the clock match since last year. The beat the clock challenge used to be my favorite part of like SmackDown. They used to be like favoritized on that next to their multi-man battle royals. And we rarely see that unless something really big happens. And now we don't have a GM, so they can barely randomly like authorize that unless like it's on random, and they have to do it for a certain thing or a certain title defense. They did a vignette hyping up Jinder Mahal, the former WWE champion. So probably later around the line, when this thing breaks over and we can have feuds, they're probably gonna bring Jinder like straight to the upper mid card to fight for like the United States Championship or something. When like maybe probably Humberto wins it or something, or just make him face off against Drew, because probably I don't see him losing that until SummerSlam. By the way, I saw some of the schedule come for later on in the 2020 pay-per-views. We have like probably Extreme Rules come June or July, and like Extreme Rules used to be like late May or late or late April, like strictly a few weeks after WrestleMania, like a Memorial Backlash, and we don't even have Backlash anymore after its resurgence back in 2016. It ended up with a double kick and then an assault coming from Asuka. So is she gonna have a one-on-one match with Nia Jax after trying to get redemption for her friend? And this is the go-home show for Money in the Bank. No, Shayna Baszler and Asuka just came with a 2-on-1 assault on on Nia Jax, getting her out the ring. That I really wish that she got hurt for real. I really don't wish to happen. Just the reputation she did, and she doesn't ever feel like she could ever wrestle safe, ever. It kind of got me pissed off, and it's already you already watched my video on 10 reasons why I think uh Nia Jax sucks, and don't worry, I'll do more of those later on the guys that are currently in the roster, not the guys that's been previously released, unless you guys ask for a certain superstar. So, well, we'll get more on that later. So the MVP lounge seems to be the basic thing. Plus, MVP now manages a team from Brandon Vink and Shane Thorne. When were these guys part of the roster? When were these guys ever part of the roster? They just randomly came up to a vignette. They dropped into the Street Profits like the go-home show before WrestleMania 36. And now they come around pinning Two Fly. Yes, the new name for Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. What the hell? There's a newly formed team against I know they're gonna do 50-50 booking, so obviously they're not gonna have two established guys lose against this team. So probably they're gonna do a match later, like after Money in the Bank. Another surprising upset: the Street Profits got pinned by the Viking Raiders in a non-title match, and it was a fun match. There was a Top Gun hello, a frog splash that nearly got the 2 count after a power slam until Eric kind of bicycle kneed a knee strike into Angelo Dawkins. The match was fast paced, a beautiful drop kick. I felt like the hot tags were so I have to say this was a fun match. Ended up with a Viking experience after Montez Ford got out the ring. Viking experience on Angelo Dawkins. The match involving Ivor and Eric was a win for the Viking Raiders with a finisher that sounds like a stand. Viking experience, but I don't want to get more into that because I get into anime. Oh boy. Oh boy. But more on that later. Never actually. So we had that. We also had the gauntlet match that ended up with AJ Styles winning after Apollo Crews suffered an injury after a moonsault gone terribly wrong from the apron to causing a ref stoppage and causing him to leave off the crutch after Charlie Caruso tried to get an interview out of him out of his injury setback. So he won't be competing. So we had a multi-man gauntlet match for a chance to qualify. We had Humberto Carrillo, Titus O'Neil somehow, Bobby Lashley, uh, uh, Angel Garza, Austin Theory, and then the last participant being AJ Styles. So technically, they would do the same type of match, except this time the Undertaker wasn't involved. Because, like, as soon as the Undertaker wins at Mania, it just means that he's never part of a storyline again until, like, it's the road to WrestleMania again. Probably we'll be seeing the Undertaker still wrestle until he's, like, fucking 70. Oh, God. Other than that, the match was okay. Kind of basically known that Humberto was going to beat both Garza and Theory when they were coming out at the same time. After a surprise roll-up on Theory, there was an Enziguri. Lashley came around beating the crap. Literally the same thing he did at Crown Jewel back at the Gauntlet for some random trophy that wasn't even going to issue a championship opportunity. Because currently, like, every Saudi Arabia event is like a TNA is like a WWE version of One Night Only from TNA. If you remember what that is, it's like a non-canon pay-per-view for TNA. I guess for them to do certain type of matches they don't want to regularly do on their pay-per-views or their shows. Like, people didn't even remember there was a show called Explosion that was technically like their B show or their SmackDown. But nobody watches a wrestling show called Explosion unless it was on YouTube. It only had like 500 subs. Oh, God. AJ Styles came around saying that he was dug himself out the dirt. I got buried, but I didn't lose. Then Aleister Black came out of nowhere with a weird promo involving him, like, rebuttaling over AJ Styles saying, "You're going to toss me out the building. Just don't ask for me to get up." There was also weird promos involving... Oh, Shelton Benjamin was also in the Gauntlet match. Weird thing. He did get a few good shots on Bobby Lashley at the time when he was in as the third participant. Other than that, it was so relevant why he was not released. The guy has completely done nothing since coming back for his comeback career, and he is one of the best, not only one of the best mid-carders in WWE history, he's one of my favorite wrestlers, and one of the best black wrestlers you're ever going to see from the previous decade of WWE. Well, 2 decades ago. Yeah, he was 2000s wrestler. Oh boy. Yeah, we did these things involving Rey Mysterio, like he hasn't like had experience in them. Like he had been cashed in on. He never been in a Money in the Bank ladder match. And Aleister Black did a promo. It was so weird. Like, we get it that you guys doing the Money in the Bank ladder match is the most unique thing, so why not get their take on it? But it was such an off moment of the show. It just felt weird to do it. It was so awkward. I hate whenever they do this. They could have just done these hype vignettes weekly, because, like, it's been a few weeks since they won the qualifying matches. So we kind of want to get their experience afterwards, how they feel. And these guys don't even wrestle again. I guess this is a smarter thing to make them rest, but what am I supposed to say? Next up, we had, of course, our semi-main event, and Charlotte Flair facing off against Liv Morgan one-on-one. Also promoting the NXT Women's Title match against. I think it was supposed to be Io Shirai, because I think she already beat Mia Yim one-on-one. I don't know. I'm not interested, because that's not elevating a championship. It feels like it's downgrading because you need a topper star to make your belt have relevancy, or at least cost viewers. We already have a low attendance rate as it is, in terrible televised ratings, even though everybody's home right now, so everybody has an excuse to tune in and watch Raw. Except nobody wants to watch Raw and has empty arena. You can hear Tom Phillips and Samoa Joe's breathing from inside from the freaking commentary table. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody does. Otherwise, the commentary was fine, but a bit bleached off. At least I don't have to hear Michael Cole come around saying it's boss time. I have to go to SmackDown for that. But the more I listen to boss time, the more I feel like the suicide rating has gone up. Oh boy. So the match was fine against Liv Morgan. She did a double face breaker from the top rope and got a near fall. She did a spear that nearly got a 3. The figure 8 looked super weird because, like, fucking Charlotte's like near 6 foot, and Liv Morgan's at least like 5'3" or something. And whenever she looked like the figure 8, it's like she's doing submission hold with her little sister. Of course, Charlotte won. Obviously, when a builder up is strong, but she's holding like the NXT Women's Championship. What's the equivalency of that actually, damaging you as an NXT Women's Champion? No one's still gonna watch NXT. No disrespect to NXT. I don't mind them as a show. It's just not the type I want to watch, especially in a WWE style where it's supposed to be completely over the top. I'm not going to be hearing that somebody like Raul Menendez had a great match against some dude that he wrestled and Evolve Wrestling. So I'm not interested in that. I'm really not. So if you think I'm going to be watching NXT weekly, you got another thing coming, dude. You're in the wrong channel for that. There's plenty of other channels that you can just search up on YouTube and watch that. Just know I'm not here for that. So it was fun. I just wanted at least a counter with the natural selection. I don't like Liv Morgan's finisher at all. It's just a weird move that can easily just it could just ease the pay. It's just an elevated pay dirt at all. It's just an elevated pay dirt. Tell you about this. Liv Morgan's incredibly attractive. I can understand why they're trying to push up her singles run. She seems okay on the mic. She has a basic likability that she at least looks like. It's just a short, cute blondie. That's technically her thing. That's about it. She's the most attractive out of the Riot Squad. Ruby Riot's already a bona fide jobber. Sarah Logan's just been recently released, but still referenced. But not Roman Reigns, because you walked out of WrestleMania 36. Because a guy with a really weak immune system that doesn't want to be caught up in any coronavirus somehow, in some way, wanted to make sure he was safe. There's a YouTube video on him, I guess it's still up, on him explaining his reasonings why he didn't show up for WrestleMania 36 to face off against Goldberg for the Universal Championship. But I don't want to get more into that because I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter. There's already been a done deal. They don't even reference him barely anymore. This is your practical face of the company, I guess. Technically, it's still Becky Lynch. Yes, she hasn't shown up either, or has barely even referenced except that one time when they showed her clip of her winning the WWE title at WrestleMania 35. Yet nobody references it because nobody cared about WrestleMania 35. And god damn. Oh man, does this build up to anything else? No. Charlotte Flair just won, and that was it. The best part of the match was Charlotte mocking the ref when she had Liv Morgan stuck in the corner, and then just don't mouth me off, Charlotte. Yeah. And that was the funnest thing. You get to hear the interaction with the referee and the wrestler. You rarely hear that except the time when the wrestlers just ignore the ref, whatever they're saying, unless they get a near fall. Next up, Murphy. Somehow they can't say Buddy, because Buddy doesn't sound intimidating. Buddy sounds like what the fuck you named your dog back when you were like 11. Against Drew McIntyre one-on-one before Money in the Bank. And the match was as basic. I guess I can say it like that. The match was as basic you can get. Bicycle knee, he did that weird combo where it's like forearm, kick. Stomp your foot for some apparent reason. He was trying to. McIntyre was just beating the crap out of him, calling Seth Rollins a coward, beating the crap out of him from outside the ring. He comes around just making himself a patented baby face. And it's so weak. I don't get this. They can't make a baby face feel unique or an anti-hero like the Scottish psychopath. It's like calling yourself. At least Dean Ambrose, as much as we give him shit for looking like a crackhead back in his days in WWE, he had his own. Likable character when he was face. Even when he was champion, he changed into I'm a big deal. I'm the mountain of this company. I'm gonna take it how it is, and I'm gonna fight whoever I want because I'm Dean Ambrose, not because I'm a fighting champion. That at least as much as people, some people that are anti-smarks, or at least not that much of a Dean Ambrose fan, could get to believe Dean Ambrose stayed his own original character when he won the WWE Championship. McIntyre came from feeling like he was insane into a weird face when he turned babyface, coming out of nowhere, just turning babyface and just saying, "I'm a real fighting champion. I'm a Scottish warrior, brave heart." It's just weird. It's just weird, dog. I don't know if any other. I was a huge supporter back in 2019 of Wyatt and McIntyre in the main event spot. He's a good look. He could be a great dominant champion. He could see a heelish dominant factor into a WWE that's losing that full time dangerous heel motif. We had guys like Brock Lesnar from the early 2000s that was intimidating, threatening, shockingly athletic, and a heel. He could play that wonderfully. McIntyre forces himself to have this likability factor and call his finishing move Claymore City because it's fun to see a man fly off to the sky while kicking a dude in the face. It's technically a botched missile dropkick, and technically his finisher was a botch in the first place. I didn't know what was wrong with the Future Shock DDT. It looks quick and calculated, but that's technically like a signature move to him now, other than the basic Claymore kick that he regularly does. So, that's disappointing. I wouldn't mind if he called himself the Scottish psychopath, or at least still the chosen one that he previously was. But he referenced that of his, that was a failed version of me. The owner himself literally handpicked me as the success for the business. And I joined a band, and now I'm here for the fans. It's so cringe. But that's how I take on it. Comment down below how you feel about the face turn or the current WWE Championship reign of Drew McIntyre. I feel like it's a really weak burn into we really haven't gotten a good full-time champion in years, in my opinion. I think the last time we had a good full-time champion, I have to say this, Seth Rollins. And that was 2015. I'm not talking about 2019 when he held on to the Universal title twice and had those crap feuds with Baron Corbin. Nobody wants to see that. I didn't want to see that. The only time I had enjoyment factor into any of his feuds from last year was when Brock Lesnar was kicking his ass and F5ing him on a stretcher. That was technically it. Anything else, at least that showed that, oh my god, Rollins might not win on Sunday. That actually showed tension. And then we go into McIntyre just Claymore kicking midgets like Buddy Murphy, and then winning when Buddy Murphy tried to mock the way he does 3, 2, 1, and a Claymore kick out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3. That would be the win for Drew McIntyre. Obviously, there was no hype, no factor of Rollins, or at least the authors of pain. So technically, they're not even competing yet until I think everything blows over in 2 weeks for them to bring back the audience back on TV. Rollins would walk off after McIntyre was on his knee begging for a quick fight with Rollins before they blow everything off come Money in the Bank. He walked out until he came around mouthing off to Buddy Murphy, calling him a coward. He super kicked him out of nowhere until the headbutt blocked off his path and he walked away. Fades to black. That's Monday Night Raw. Wow. That was underwhelming as it gets. I wish there was more segments involving Lashley because how much I wanted to tease the end of Lana and Lashley's relationship together because I think it kind of blew its mind. And plus, no one really cares because they're not for real together. And technically, this doesn't build up any type of heat or anything. Thanks to Rusev has already recently released from the company, AEW. But that's practically the motif of what happened on Raw. I feel like the best thing they did was explain the ruling, what's gonna happen in the Money in the Bank ladder match. It's gonna be cool to see the interactions they're gonna do on the literal headquarters of the company they work for. So that's gonna be cool at least. I feel like they could have had Becky Lynch out there do something, have a match with I think Liv Morgan or something, build up that she's still a champion. She's still a fighting champion. She's like the Stone Cold Steve Austin of the women's division, and she just had no likability or character. That was technically it. She literally just rips off Steve Austin anyway, and ironically calls herself the man. Yet still the most dominant wrestlers, still Charlotte Flair. Oh my god. And Jesus Christ. They have to do something with this women's division other than just rip off stuff. They did Elimination Chambers. They did Money in the Banks. They did Royal Rumbles, Survivors. Well, they already did Survivor Series. I had nothing wrong with that. Just make unique centerpieces. I don't mind if you even rip off Ultimate X. At least that's something unique for the women to stand out. No, not a lot of fans are going to be they're going to think it's a desperate ploy for WWE to support feminism. not to show that these women do more than just show up that they're eye candy. Uh, do something with Liv Morgan other than just let her feud with Ruby Riott, then let her get dropped out against more legitimate superstars. Give a storyline, something for these women to do if you want to push Liv Morgan to the right direction. No Brock Lesnar this Money in the Bank. I'm begging you. Last year, I went off in the Money in the Bank pay-per-view for that obvious reason, because they got nobody to push. Try to see what these guys can do. I'm begging you. Do something with this. For God's sakes. Make sure some of the mid-quarters have some matches. Don't do a kickoff. The Raw gets a 5 out of 10. It was watchable. It was watchable at some motifs. I had to rewatch it because I think I overslept. I had to sleep because I did too much schoolwork. That was my own doing. Other than that, show was okay. It's good to see AJ Styles again, for the obvious thing that he, even though most of non-smart fans or indie or not anti-indie wrestling fans dislike him, they at least show a particular respect for how much he built up TNA, and his wrestling is pretty exciting to watch, even though it can be a bit repetitive, but that's the WWE style, and he's shown to be one of the more likable guys to watch. Sorry about Anderson and Gallows, by the way. That's it coming from the DST Show. And RIP Howard Finkel.